Good morning and happy August 21st. This is Benjamin from Numismatic Notes with Benjamin, and I'm very excited to present to you one of the newest countries in my collection. When you've been collecting banknotes and coins as long as I have, it's not every day or even every month or possibly even every year that you get a note from a new country that you haven't already had one for. I was very pleased to be able to get this note from a dealer on eBay, and I want to share the details with you, and we'll go from there. I use the standard catalog of World Paper Money, the banknote book, and Wikipedia to get information on this interesting banknote for you. This is a banknote of Equatorial Guinea. It is a 25 Ekuele, and I want to apologize in advance for any mispronunciations. This note measures 144 by 60 millimeters. It is printed on paper. It is a predominantly purple note, so I like it for that reason. And the standard catalog of World Paper Money indicates that this note is a PIC 9, while the banknote book calls this a B206. It is presented. It is printed by Thomas Delarue and Company. And on the face of the note, we have several interesting features. We have cacao trees and pods at the center, so this note could easily have fit into my collection of chocolate on banknotes. There is a mountain lake and a reflective mountain in the lake seen right there through the cacao trees as well. The portrait on the right is of Maisie Nguima Biogo Negwe Ndong to the right. And he is also featured in the watermark to the left there. There's a solid security thread off center to the left, which, let's see if I can't. It looks like it runs through that tree right there, and you can see it pretty clearly if you hold it up to the light. What I really like about this note, though, is the registration device. For some reason, you don't see this feature on notes a great deal, but whenever I see it, I like it, and I may need to do a little theme video of this bird that appears on World Notes. You see right there that chicken? That chicken serves as a registration device. So when you look at the back of the note, there will also be this chicken. And if you can hold the chicken up to the light and you see that the front chicken and the back chicken line up or together make a unique design, it's an indication that this note is not a counterfeit, because many times people cannot get the registrations as exact as a printing firm like Thomas Delarue would be able to do. So be sure when we turn the note over to take a look for that chicken. Now, let's just turn it over now and see what we have on the back. Can you guys see the chicken? There's the chicken right there. On this side, the chicken's all white. On the other side, it was all silver. And if you hold it up to the light and they both line up perfectly, well, you have what is called a registration device. The back of the note, you see the text. It's Banco Popular 25 Ekuele, which is Spanish. And, honestly, everyone is familiar with the French colonies of Africa. Everyone is familiar with the countries that Britain had, a big role in the colonization. Everybody's familiar with, Britain, France. Everybody's familiar with, there must be more than Britain and France. There's some Italian influences on the East Coast, and then, we have more French influences on the West Coast. But this is a case of Spanish colonialization, or a note that is a descent of Spanish colonialization in Africa. And that's why you see the text there in Spanish. It is a coat of arms shown here to the left, and there's another little chicken above it. And then we have a fruit here, a papaya, and there's some bananas over here. For a while, I thought that papaya was actually a cacao from the front, but I guess they tried to treat a lot more of they tried to show a lot more of their crops. And we have a bridge here. It's a fantastic bridge, and it was named after the president at the time of this note, but I assume that the bridge has changed names now. But I wasn't successful in finding a modern image of this bridge, much less a new name of the bridge. If you can help me out with the name of this bridge on this Equatorial Guinea note, I'd really appreciate your posting it in the comments. Let's get back to the front of the note and some explanations of some of the history of the note. This is a very, very sombering and sad note, people. I can't even express to you the sympathy and the revulsion I felt as I learned the history of this note at the same time. Shown is the first president of Equatorial Guinea, Maizi Nguema Biognowe Ndong. I'm so sorry. My pronunciation is terrible. He was president from 1966 until he was overthrown and executed in 1979. The president was born in what is now the nation of Ghana. The nation of Gabon. He was of the Fang ethnic group, and he was the child of a witch doctor. Here's what made me sad, guys. At the age of 9 years old, he watched his father, who was the chief of his village, punched to death by Spanish administrators. There is no way I want to be killed, but I just can't imagine being punched repeatedly until you die. He was punched to death by Spanish administrators and was orphaned a week later when his mother committed suicide. So this provoked a lot of compassion for me. It makes me sad that events like this have to happen, and more so when they impact directly and, as we see, indirectly the life of an entire nation because of the cruelty of one man. And in this case, the administrator that punched his father to death. After growing up, he failed a civil service exam 3 times, but then he passed it and quickly moved through the ranks and became the president of his nation in the only free election that Equatorial Guinea has ever had. So there's a lot to be commended there. A driven individual becomes the leader of his nation. However, after he became the leader, he became increasingly despotic and somewhat dictatorial, and maybe even a little more so dictatorial. He would often order entire villages and families to be executed. In his country, gained the reputation and became known as the Dachau of Africa. Not a compliment, people. He used the members of his family and his ethnic tribe to completely suppress his nation. So he incited fear based on who his family was and what his tribe was. Not necessarily an example of racism whenever everybody in your country is African, but definitely a situation where your tribe has seniority and superiority over other tribes in the nation. And unfortunately, in the world and in Africa, this type of governance is far too common. He executed people who wore glasses. Yeah, I'd be dead if I was in Equatorial Guinea. He banned fishing. You're hungry? Well, you don't even get to fish. He mined the only road that was available that led out of the country so that nobody could easily escape his nation. He banned Western-style medicine, as well as names that were Hispanic. I understand the banning of the names that were Hispanic. Many nations have also gotten rid of vestiges of colonialism by getting rid of names that were in the language of the occupier or the colonizer. It's not just countries in Africa that have done this. Israel did this. They Israelized or Hebrew-ized most of their names at one point in their history. And a lot of people, when they came to the United States, had their ethnic-sounding name somewhat anglicized for the United States of America, whether by design or by accident at Ellis Island, for example. So that in and of itself is not a surprising thing. Let's see. His name for himself was Unique Miracle. That's what he called himself. And he changed the national motto of his country to, "There is no other God than Messias Nguema." So he had somewhat of an ego as well. Sadly, when his soldiers would go out to execute people randomly or, with a design, they would dress up as Santa Claus. So you have this whole issue of an entire nation terrorized by Santa Claus. And I wish I was joking, but I am not. At this point, I'm starting to think this is sounding a lot like Cambodia in the 1970s with Pol Pot. Nearly 47% of the people of his nation fled the nation for their safety, and according to my research online, some claim that that number actually is closer to 70% of the population fled their country because of this man. And it's it's one reason why, there's no justification. The sympathy I felt for this man was him as a child, and with proper intervention, he could have still been a decent man when he grew up. Instead, he terrorized and became the very thing that caused him his grief. He became the administrator that killed people. He is suspected to have been a psychopath. I thought that was a bit of understatement. And they base this on his childhood trauma and the adult drug use that he was subject to. This note is dated 7th of July, 1975. In 1979, he was overthrown by his tribe and his family when he began to execute his own family members. At that point, they thought, we should intervene in this situation. So he was overthrown. He was tried. He received 101 death sentences, and he was executed on the same day. So what we have here is a beautiful note, but a beautiful note with a very sad story. Purple and gold, beautiful scenes of a beautiful continent and a beautiful country. Fantastic bridges, modern construction in a somewhat Wild West atmosphere, maybe even a primitive culture. There are no words, people. I just don't know what to say. I'm glad that I had this note in my collection, but I can't help but be creeped out a little bit by it. My heart goes out to the poor people of the Equatorial Guinea region of Africa and the neighboring nations that had to absorb all these people that all they wanted to do was live. I am Benjamin. This has been Numismatic Notes with Benjamin. Please like and subscribe to my page. I am at 188 subscribers and people. That's not bad for less than a year-old website, but come on. I'm ready to hit 1,000. Please help me out in this task by sharing my page and letting me know what other banknotes you would like me to exhibit in my programs and what other things you would like to see that relate to banknotes or coins on my channel. Have a jewel of a day.